In this session, I am going to explain step up and step down chopper. So before I go for explanation of what is step up and step down chopper, I'll explain you what is chopper. See, chopper is a basic circuit which has been used to convert DC signal to DC signal. So where in some applications of power electronics, there is a need of conversion of DC signal to DC signal, in which in some cases there is a need of to increase DC voltage to DC voltage, and in some applications there is a need of to have a increase in a DC voltage to DC voltage. So in this kind of circuits we used to have chopper circuit. Usually we don't use transformer and converter and inverter. The reason is those circuits are bulky, so we use chopper circuit. By using that circuit we can make this job easier. So let us try to understand some basic chopper circuit here. First I will going to explain you step down chopper circuit, where the basic circuit for step down chopper, that is given in this figure, where what happens when this switch is on and what happens when this switch is off. That is what first thing which is what we need to understand about. So let us consider for some time in period this switch is on, and if this switch is on during T on, in that case current will flow in this loop, and this freewheeling diode, that is in reverse bias, so that will be off, and this inductor will getting charged with respect to time, and current in inductor will increase when this switch is on. So this loop, that is for T on. So when this switch is on, this inductor will get charged and current will increase through inductor, and as this switch is off for some other instant, at a time this will be open circuit, and if that is open circuit, current will flow in this loop during T off, and that will flow like this. So in that case this freewheeling diode will conduct. So when switch is off, at a time current energy which is there in inductor, that will get discharged and current will flow through this freewheeling diode. So what will happen over here, when T is on, at that time inductor will get charged and its polarity will be this, plus and minus. So this will be the polarity of inductor, and when this switch is off, at that time polarity of inductor will get reverse, and its polarity will be this, minus plus, and current that will be in this loop. So that is how case which is happening across inductor, and that will result into changing current. Now let us try to understand that with respect to waveform which will be there in step down chopper. So when this switch is on, at a time output will be Vs, and when this switch is off, output Vs will not be there at load. The reason is this switch is off, so this will be open circuit and output will be 0. So during, if I say this is T on, then during T on output will be Vs, and during T off output will be 0. So that is how output is there. During T on output is Vs, and during T off output voltage is 0. So this is how voltage is there at output side during switch is on and switch is off. Now let us try to understand what will happen with respect to current. So when that switch is on, inductor is getting charged, so its current is getting increasing. If I say its current is I1 initially, and it will increases up to I2, then during T on its current will increase like this, and when switch is off its current will decrease, and it will go up to I1, and inductor's energy will get released through freewheeling diode, and that is what getting repeated, and this will be the waveform which we can see at output side. So see, this is what step down chopper, in which when this switch is on, current will flow in this loop, and inductor will energize with energy, and current will increase, which is what passing through inductor, and polarity will be this plus minus. But when this switch is off, inductor's polarity will get reversed, and current will flow in this loop, and inductor will release its energy, and freewheeling diode will conduct at that instant, and current will decrease, and which will decrease from I1 to I2. Now what will be average DC output during this conduction? So average output voltage that will be V average will be output voltage into T on. The reason is when it is on, at that time output voltage appears to load, divided by T on plus T off. So this will be T on divided by total time period. So this is T on and this is T off. So this is total T. So average output voltage is V0 into, this is duty cycle alpha, and duty cycle cannot be greater than 1. Duty cycle is always less than 1. The reason is it is T on divided by T on plus T off. So if we see average output voltage, that is always less than Vs voltage, which is what we are giving at input side. So average output voltage that is less than Vs voltage, that's why this is called as step down chopper. Now let us try to understand step up chopper. So here the basic circuit of step up chopper that we can see. Now let us try to understand what happens when this switch is on and what happens when this switch is off. So let us consider first case where this switch is on. So here during T on time period, this is what switch is on, and if this switch is on, due to this supply Vs, current will flow in this loop, and this will happen during T on. So what will happen? Current through inductor will increase, and polarity of inductor will be this plus and minus. The reason is now inductor is getting energized by the supply Vs, and its polarity that is plus to minus. The reason is current flowing in this loop where inductor is getting energized by some amount of energy, and its polarity will be plus minus like this. When this switch is off, at that time this is open circuit. That's why now current will flow in this loop, and this Vs will appear, and this Vs will appear to the load. So output voltage will be due to energy stored in inductor as well as Vs. So there will be output which is due to energy stored in inductor and Vs. And when this switch is off, at a time now inductor is even releasing energy towards load as well as Vs is giving energy towards load. So now inductor's polarity will get reversed. Now it will be minus and plus like this. And that is how it is releasing energy through this diode, and it will appear to the load. Now let us try to understand what happens with IS current which is passing through the inductor. So to understand it, we need to see when this switch is on. Let us consider T on time period. So during T on, this switch is on. During T on, this switch is on. And when this switch is on, inductor is energized by supply Vs and current passing through inductor increases with respect to time. So current increases and it will increase linearly. So let us say this is I1 and it will increase up to I2. And when this switch is off, inductor is releasing energy to the load and current will decrease from I2 to I1. So during T off, this will release, and inductor will release current to the load and it will decrease up to I1. So that is how current is decreasing from I2 to I1 during T off. So that is what the process which is getting repeated. So during T on, current will increase, and during T off, current will decrease like this. So that is how current which is flowing through the inductor. Now what will happen with output? So when this switch is on, this will be short circuit, and if it is short circuit, this Vs supply will not appear to the load, so output voltage will be 0. So output voltage is 0 when this switch is on, and when this switch is off, at the time this will appear to the load, so there will be somewhat amount of output voltage. Let us say it is something. So there will be output voltage, and that will be due to energy of inductor as well as Vs supply. So there will be somewhat voltage V, and which will be happening because of somewhat supply which is there with Vs as well as energy stored in inductor, and this is how it is getting repeated. So during switch is on, output is 0, and as switch is off, output is something. Now what happens to the load current? Now as we see, like when this switch is on, load current is 0. As this switch is on, load current is 0. Why? The reason is this is short circuit, so complete current is flowing in this load. There is no current which is there in this load. When this switch is off, at that time load current is similar to the current which is flowing through inductor. So when this switch is on, at that time there is 0 amount of current which is passing through load, while this switch is off, at that time the current which is there in inductor will be similar to the current which is flowing into the load. So when this switch is on, at that time output current is 0, and when this switch is off, output current is similar to inductor or Is. So that is this. So that is what getting repeated. And during when it is off, it is this, and when it is on, when it is on, at that time 0, and when it is off, at that time this. So this is I2 and this is I1. Now let us try to solve this problem where we need to say like how it is step up chopper. So to understand it, we need to see how much energy which is getting stored in inductor and how much energy that is getting released by inductor. So both are obviously same. So now our aim is to understand what amount of energy is getting stored in inductor. So when this switch is on, at that time energy is getting stored in inductor and current is flowing in this loop. Obviously that current will be average of I1 and I2, so that will be I1 plus I2 by 2. And voltage appear across inductor, that will be due to only Vs. So energy during T on, so that is E1. If I say that is E1, then that energy is equals to power during on into time period, that is T on. Now power during on is voltage into current into T on. Now voltage is Vs when T is on, which is appearing to across inductor, and current is I1 plus I2 by 2, and time period is T on. Now when we talk about energy which is getting released by inductor, that is during T off. So energy during T off, if I say it is E2, so that is power off, and T off, which is voltage into current, and voltage is Vs minus V0. Current is similar to I1 plus I2 by 2, and time period is T off. Now how it is happening? When this T off is there, at that time current is flowing in this loop, and polarity of inductor, that is getting reversed. So at that time in voltage across inductor, so that is this voltage minus this voltage, which is what? This is V0 minus Vs, and current passing, average current passing through this inductor, so that is again, you can see that from this waveform, which is I1 plus I2 by 2. So average current passing through this phase, that is I1 plus I2 by 2, and voltage appear across inductor, that is V0 minus Vs. So that is why we can say like energy during T off, that is what? E2 is equals to power into T off, where power is equals to voltage into current, and voltage is Vs minus V0, and current is I1 plus I2 by 2. Now here amount of energy which is getting stored in inductor and released by inductor is same. So here E1 is equals to E2, and as E1 is equals to E2, E1 is equals to Vs into I1 plus I2 by 2 into T on is equals to, this is E2, and that is we have already derived Vs minus V0 into I1 plus I2 by 2 into T off. Now I1 plus I2 by 2, that will get cancelled. So this equation will be Vs into T on is equals to Vs minus V0 into T off. Now let us keep V0 one side and Vs other side. So V0 minus V, it is V0 minus Vs, it is V0 minus Vs. So take care of that. So take V0 at one side and Vs at other side. So V0 is equals to Vs into, this is what? T on plus T off divided by T off. So that is V0 is equals to Vs into T by T off. So that is V0 into, just divide that, so that will result into 1 divided by 1 minus alpha, where alpha is duty cycle, So if we see value of alpha, that is always less than 1. So 1 minus less than 1, that is somewhat fractional value of 1, like 0.7, 0.3, and 1 divided by that is what? Always greater than 1. So our output voltage, that is always greater than Vs. Our output voltage, that is always greater than Vs. That's why it is called a step-up chopper. Let us consider one example. if I say alpha is equals to 0.5, so if alpha is equals to 0.5, 1 minus 0.5, that is 0.5, 1 divided by 0.5, that is what, 2. So output voltage is equals to 2 Vs. So that is what, greater than Vs. That's why we can say that this is step-up chopper.